got paper here? I'm not that much older than you guys. This is a book. This is a book.
I made the mistake of not.
So last week we were talking about the topic was God's direction, and when I got home I started thinking that I felt like I missed something, and there was a deeper subject behind what we went over last week. So I went back and I read the story over again, and in Exodus you've got the Israelites that are guided by God, and God's telling them where to go, and God directs them to go where they're trapped between the river and the Egyptians, and the Israelites are, they're questioning, why did you bring us here? They're questioning Moses, why did you bring us here? We're surely to die. And God kept telling them, he told them where to go. So I went back and I looked at that and I thought, I think there's a deeper meaning behind that story. And it's not just God having a direction for us. It's God having a direction as a bigger picture. I missed the bigger picture. And the bigger picture was what it says in Genesis 14:1. It says, the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp between the Migdal and the sea. So he's telling them to go to the river. God directed them there. He knew where he was going. But over and over again he said, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians and have glory. So when they crossed the river and he hardened the hearts of the Egyptians followed, and of course we know the story. The walls of water come crashing down, and he told the Israelites, "You will never see these Egyptians again," and that's what happened. Right. And he did that, as it says in Exodus. He did that for the glory of God. Mm-hmm. He said, "I will
gain honor over Pharaoh."
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, even though we find ourselves from time to time going into situations where we question, why are we here? What purpose does God have for me where we are? There's a bigger picture behind that. And the bigger picture is the overall glorification of God.
Yeah, that's a theme that runs through, that there's definite specific instructions in Scripture, but there's also big umbrella principles that you can see. And certainly that's one of them, is that it's not about us, even though God does things for us, like he delivered the children of Israel and he destroyed the enemy. That those things meant something to the people then, for sure. But the overlying principle is, whatever he does for you and I, and whatever he did for them, it is to, let the world see him as sovereign, as powerful. I don't, want to use a church word, but he is just all powerful. Right. And that's the case. That's why he did it. That's the ultimate end to why he did that.
Well, I went a little further, and I wanted to find other examples of how God used his chosen for the greater cause. And in the book of Daniel,
I'm the only one that's got paper here. I'm not that much older than you guys. This is a book. This is a book.
I made the mistake of not bringing mine.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
I like the book too.
I was just looking.
This is just something I have. I look like I'm doing something.
Gotcha.
There's Brother Michael used to say he loved hearing those pages turn.
Yeah.
And I'm more of a digital kind of person. I've got I've got a paper Bible, but I've got my digital version too, and of course this has all my notes and everything.
Gotcha.
So in the,
Mine too.
no,
Yeah, that's right.
well, I have a little notepad here that I got my notes in.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a competition, I think.
No, I think yours is a little bit better. You got more notes in yours than I do. I can't actually make notes on mine, but.
Well, enough of my distraction. What you got? What you
All right,
got?
so in Daniel 6, it's given a story of Daniel and Darius. It pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. So you've got what he's set up is a tier of command, and he's got 3 people over the rest of them. And Daniel was one of the 3 administrators that was over all of them. So Daniel was somebody that he really trusted. He put a lot of faith in Daniel. I'm going to kind of skip through here now. Now Daniel, it says in 3. Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators that the satraps, by his exceptional qualities, that the king planned to seat him over the whole kingdom. So they knew this, and they were getting jealous. They knew that Daniel was setting himself up by his good nature and his hard work. So they took their let's see, in verse 5. Finally, these men said, I'm sorry, God, I can barely see the words, because one of y'all want to read this? I can't see the words.
Mine's a different version of yours now.
That's fine.
And these men said, we will not find any ground of accusation against this Daniel unless we find it against him with regard to the law of his God.
Yeah.
How far? I mean, what's the meaning here? How far?
Let's just keep on going all the way through.
Then these commissioners and satraps came by agreement to the king and spoke to him as follows. King Darius, live forever. All commissioners of the kingdom and the prefects and the satraps, the high officials and the governors have consulted together that the king should establish a statute and force an injunction that anyone who makes a petition to any god or man besides you, O king, for 30 days shall he be cast into the lion's den. Okay,
so they know that Daniel has a deep-rooted faith in God. They know that Daniel had prays to God. They've been watching him. Now they're setting him up. So they're going to the king, and they're setting a trap for Daniel. And they're telling the king, set a decree that if anybody prays for 30 days, then they're going to be thrown to the lion's den, because they know that Daniel's going to pray. So that's what they did. The king set a decree, and they told him, put it in writing. Now, Daniel knew of the decree, but yet he still, when he went home, he did like he always does. He bowed down and he prayed to God. And these others came in and watched him, and then went back and told on him. And told the king, hey, you said that anybody prayed for the next 30 days, they got to be thrown to the lions. Now you got to keep your word, because it's in writing. You can't go against your word. And the king...
King lost some sleep.
He did.
The king, it just, it really upset the king.
That's what I'm saying, because they were setting the king up to me.
Yeah.
Because they knew the king liked Daniel anyway.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they were setting him up as well as Daniel.
Right.
Because, it's almost like, it's like they tricked him.
Yeah, they did. They did.
And that's, and I could see later on later on in the story that the king,
And the
he
king,
realized-
the
he
king knew
realized
he
it.
had been tricked.
Yeah.
And so that upset him. Number one, and number two was that he felt like he knew he'd put Daniel in a tight spot.
Right.
but it plays out to where the king, he's got some faith, and he knows, I'm not sure to what extent, but he knows that God has given favor to Daniel.
Yeah.
So he's hoping for the best. He doesn't sleep all night. He doesn't eat all night. Nobody comes in to try to settle his nerves. It was commonplace to bring a musician in to play some soothing music or whatever, and none of that happened. The king was just that upset. He probably just went in, locked the doors, and said, and just waited it out.
Right.
I like where it said that he laid awake all night long. He was really concerned about Daniel, and then the next day at sunup, he rushes back yelling to him,
Right.
"Did your God protect you?"
Right.
And
Right.
Daniel yelled out,
Okay.
"Yeah, I'm okay."
Yeah.
God kept the
Now-
lion's mouth shut.
If we're talking about me and you and Tim and whoever, if it was me, I would have been pulling the criminal aspect you see in some of these movies. I would have dipped into the bathroom somewhere, shaved my beard, dyed my hair, and come up with an escape plan. I wasn't, but that principle that we're talking about here is the same that we saw in the other story and we see in now is, when we have faith and we're obedient and God delivers us, it's for the purpose of showing God off to the world. It's not for us. Just
that's
like
right.
when last week when you were talking about you were encouraging to a friend of yours, everything may go well and he may be delivered now in that particular situation, or it may extend on. But it's not about him, it's about God, and it's about his faith and his obedience in God and showing God to the world. So how he reacts and how you and I react to situations is what is reflected into the world as far as being a Christian, and a God believer. And Daniel was obedient. He didn't. There's no recording of any scuffle, no jailbreak.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went,
Right.
and he did it.
Yeah.
He was faithful to pray. It talks about that. In this passage, he was faithful to do his prayer. That's the way he got caught, even though the decree was there. He was going to do that. He was faithful to be, the Bible tells us that we should be, I'm looking for the right word, when it comes to the government, and I don't want it to turn political, when it comes to we're supposed to be law-abiding. We're supposed to be law-abiding. Right. So he was law-abiding. Right. So he went. So he was not only faithful to God, he was faithful to God because he was law-abiding to the decree that was handled. So he went to the lion's den. But, like you said, the king come along and he woke up, or he didn't wake up, but the sun broke and he went out there and he hollered for Daniel. And Daniel said, "It's okay. God sent his angel to shut the mouths of lions," and, pretty good end to the story.
Yeah. Well, there's a this goes back to the broader picture. So here we have Daniel, who's been done wrong by these individuals. They set him up. They knew they were setting him up, and they put him in a pretty tight situation. I mean, if you're down in a lion's pit and you've got a stone rolled over the entry, that's a pretty tight situation right there. But Daniel said the Lord sent his angels, and they kept the mouth of the lion shut. So reading the story, you see Daniel is in the tight situation. But when you look a little deeper and you get towards the end of it, it says in 625, "Then King Darius wrote to all the nations and the people of other languages in all the earth, May you prosper greatly. I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel." So God put his own people in a pretty tight situation for the greater good overall. There was a bigger picture there. Now the king has opened up and put a decree out to his whole kingdom that Daniel's God is the God.
And that's the reflection into the world. That's the fulfillment of the purpose of that principle. When a child of God is faithful, obedient, and God acts on his behalf, it is reflected out into the world. And again, acting on our behalf may just be a peaceful spirit during our situation. Or it could very well be a Daniel moment where we're delivered from a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Either or, the peace of the Lord is going to rest on us if we're faithful and obedient. And the world's going to see it. The world's going to see it. That's why churches have testimony night. For us, it was usually on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
So people could share their story, and you could reflect and remember about how God intervened in your life. So yeah, that's and the king played the role to do that for Daniel.
We were talking earlier about how being obedient, being a law-abiding citizen and everything. And when I was reading through the verse a little bit here, and it talked about when the king came down, what was the first thing that came out of Daniel's mouth? He says, "O king, live forever."
Yep.
So, he's still being obedient at that time, too.
Right.
"O king, live
Right.
forever." And, of course, the king was just tickled to death, that it was okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
Right.
it made him realize, man, Daniel's God. There's something to Daniel's God. There's something to him.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's the seeing the forest for the trees. We get into our tight situations and we focus on ourselves, and we focus on what has God got in store for me for where I am right now. Sometimes it's not about us. Sometimes it's about the greater good overall. We don't know the lives that get touched by the situations that we get put in sometimes.
And you can get, that's what I love about studying the Word. It just keeps building and building and building. For the children of Israel in the story we covered last week, it was just a redemption story, a saving story. It's a picture of, God saving his people that was in bondage and enslaved, and he does the same for us if we're in some kind of slave situation to whatever that may be. That was a sure enough redemption out of slavery story. Daniel gets real interesting. You said that you watched, what'd you watch?
The movie.
The movie?
Book of Daniel. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Some more non-paper. That's
Non-paper,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
But as you watch the movie and then you read this, there are a few things that the Bible tells you things, and they didn't kind of put that in the movie. But
Well, what's interesting about Daniel is, and I read this in my study Bible, and it's about 30 years old in a very basic study Bible, but I love it because it gives the author and the date, it gives the background, and it gives the contents and the purpose of the whole book before each book. Mm-hmm. And what I found in here was these instances of crisis that we saw among Daniel's friends, the three friends of his, and then Daniel. All of those served to showcase God. And Daniel not only served under this king, but he served under a couple of more. And we know that Daniel, this was about kingdoms and nations. And God shown that he was, in the Egyptian case, God shown himself to be superior to anything that enslaves us. In the case of Daniel, this was different nations that came along, and God is showing himself that he is more powerful than any nation that existed then and any nation that will exist forever. Because at the other half of the book of Daniel, we get the prophecy, both of what happened during particular time here and end time prophecy. So there never will be a nation that is any greater than God. So that was pretty cool when I read that about the book of Daniel.
In the book of Daniel also it lays out at the first, well, not the first, but through Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel coming to know him, and and he trusted in him. God gave him that vision
Right.
of all of the kingdoms. Am I right?
Yeah.
You
His
know,
plan was to
See,
set,
that was God. God's given his plan at that very time.
he set Daniel in this place so that he was in a, people could hear and listen to him because he was in a government type setting.
Mm-hmm.
So the government type setting and his credibility going along with the fact that his God is superior to all nations, that gave him the stage to make such prophecy about nations that would come and go. But God will always be here.
Right. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think we've pretty much covered tonight. I'd like to take this opportunity to anybody that's listening that may be looking for a church to call their home, come out and visit with us. We'd be glad to have you. We have this Sunday, we have a guest speaker coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have potluck after service,
Yes.
followed by youth and young adult activities. We're going to have I think they're going to have a bouncy house and do a cornhole tournament.
Okay.
Are you
know.
going to jump in the bouncy house?
Huh?
You going to jump in the bouncy house?
Not after I eat.
I would like to say something about the BCM and the way that the First Baptist Church of Caldwell is interactive with that, which is a ministry that happens down at the college campus. And it just happened this past Monday, and happens first Monday for us. But each Monday of the week, a church is invited to go down there and provide a meal in a particular classroom. Anybody's invited, and it's been a real blessing. So if there's anybody within the congregation here that wants to interact with that ministry, just let me know or let Samantha Sharp know, because she did the devotional.
Did she? Awesome.
Not this month, but the prior month.
Okay.
Great job.
So are y'all taking our trailer down there and
We have taken the trailer down there, but they have a new building that we're meeting in, and it has a cafeteria in it. So it's gotten pretty simple to go down there. We can focus on sharing a devotional and interacting with the people, and the food is already provided.
Okay.
So good way for any of our people to get involved.
are you cooking?
No, I'm not cooking. I'm eating.
Well, we also have ladies' Bible study here on Monday. Mondays at 1 o'clock and Tuesdays at 10 o'clock. And Miss Donna has agreed to come on and talk about their Bible study and what their lessons are, because I don't know. I haven't been to one.
Cool.
I wasn't invited.
Ladies.
Yeah.
They probably use paper.
Yeah, well, yeah. Digital not allowed. I want to thank everybody for watching. Tune in for more. We hope to have more content come out in about a week or so.
Thank
Cool.
you. God bless.
Amen.